Hail and Mage's Kingdom. If you want to one-shot enemies, you want to play snipe shot, but it requires precise timing to deal a lot of damage, and may leave you in vulnerable position where you know what will happen.
I died to something.
So I decided to make a leveling build for you guys, who want to play classic ranger with kiting playstyle and ability to melt bosses pretty fast. Yeah, we won't one-shot them, but damage per second is pretty good. So, as any good build, it starts in Act 1, where you get your first bow and your first skill, Lightning Arrow. It still eats a little bit of mana, so when you're fighting first boss, try to use basic attacks on him and Lightning Arrow to clear nearby enemies. After defeating him, you will go into town and get your first skill gem. Also, I prepared shopping list for you that you can copy-paste into trader window and it will highlight useful items. We're looking for increased damage, added damage or level to all projectile skills. In next area you will find one more guaranteed skill gem and you want to create Lightning Rod and Frost Bomb as a first skill gems. And that's how our playstyle will look right now. So we drop few Lightning Rods and then we shoot with Lightning Arrows. Lightning Rod will channel and also kinda explode to nearby enemies, and that's your playstyle right now. Frost Bomb used to apply exposure to targets, which will reduce their resistance. And we will deal a lot more damage if this icon looks red. Also, shocking enemies with lightning skills helps to inflict more damage. Don't forget to defeat this rare monster in Grelwood, because she drops uncut support gem. Also don't forget your squishy ranger.
There was a fix everywhere, and now I'm dead.
So from second attempt I got my uncut support gem. This is a gem that you will drop into your skills that will apply some different modifications, and I like to start with lightning attunement. Then when you reach Red Whale, carefully investigate surrounding area, because there will be a bunch of refined arms. They guarantee to drop upgrade for every single martial weapon, and bow is not exception, so you will find upgrade for a bow, that is called short bow. DPS may look the same, especially if you got good mod on your initial bow, but you just drop Orb of Augmentation and Transmutation on top and your damage will instantly be a lot higher than your normal initial bow even with good mods. At the end of this location you will find boss, and after defeating this bro with your Lightning Rod and Lightning Arrow and Frost Bomb to reduce his resistance, you will find one more skill gem. It will be uncut skill gem level 3, which unlocks next tier of skills. There will be multiple viable choices like Freezing Salvo and Snipe, but we will go with Stormcaller Arrow and switch Lightning Attunement into Stormcaller Arrow now. So actually you can even remove Lightning Rod and Lightning Arrow from now on. A lot of people ignore the skill because tooltip damage is just laughable, compared to Lightning Arrow for example. But that's because Stormcaller Arrow damage comes from bolt, not from arrow itself. Look closely, you shoot arrow, it sticks to target and then boom! Oh, everyone dead, because that's area of effect skill that destroys all enemies around the target. It sticks arrow to the target and then boom, target is dead. Most importantly, you need to be very careful with piercing. So if you go forward on our passive tree, there will be chance to pierce enemies, and you want to avoid it. Because if you pierce target, arrow will stick to the ground, somewhere to the walls, and it will shoot these bolts near the walls, not on targets. Now, a little bit about our playstyle. You can kite as normal ranger, you can play carefully as you wish, but if you know your damage and know how many arrows is needed to destroy one target, you just go drop this amount of arrows and move forward. Forget about targets and just remove them like this. In most cases, right at this point of the game, there's 2 arrows needed to destroy one enemy, and that's why you're seeing me most of the time shooting 2 arrows and then running forward. Against bosses you still can use Lightning Rod and Lightning Arrow, and that's what was the damage of it. Now let's use Stormcaller Arrow, and now look, no damage and then boom, he's starting to deplete. Damage is actually insane at this point of the game, and I'm wielding pretty weak bow, so it was not a lucky game, but after defeating this boss I got really good bow and nice quiver. That's DPS and that's how boss fight will look like. Frost Bomb, a little bit of Frozen Salvo if you got skill gems to slow him down, and then just shoot your Stormcaller Arrow. Super easy to play, super straightforward, keeps you kinda not busy with your buttons and you can see what's going on in game, you can learn boss behavior, you can just have fun if that's the playstyle you're looking for. So yeah, it's not super fast, there's no one-shots, but we slowly, methodically dismantling bosses little bit by little bit. Funny part that build is kinda over. You just drop some lightning attunement and elemental armament on Stormcaller arrows and add a concentrated area and you're done. You can basically beat whole game with one button. So if you're looking for something spicier, make sure to check pinned comment with all links to all my builds. There's some crazy leveling one-shot builds, especially for Monk. But I guess you're here because you want to play Ranger. So, what to do next? Basically, you can go for pretty meta play style, and you can play with Stormcaller Arrow as your clearing ability, so you don't even think about basic monsters, and then try to freeze bosses with Freezing Salvo with Frost Bomb, and when they are frozen, use Snipe. Still, at this point, it's pretty easy to just use basic Stormcaller Arrow against boss, running around pretty fast and avoiding his attacks, while slowing him down a little bit with Freezing Salvo, and you will be good. After defeating Executioner, you will get yourself to skill gems level 5 after saving this lady and talking with her in a town. Also by clearing click mechanic in next area, or just by random drops. And we will create electrocuting arrow and ice tipped arrows. Ice tipped arrows is insane. That's the buff that you will press before shooting your Stormcaller arrows. And now look. Boom, he is instantly stunned, melted to ashes, he is already at half health, he is frozen, and now we can snipe him. But do we actually need to snipe him? While I'm charging the snipe, I already could shoot like few Stormcaller arrows and he will be dead no matter what at this point. And that's why I optimized this build for you guys who don't want to snipe. Basically, you will run around with Stormcaller arrow, but you will drop electrocuting arrow before hitting it, and enemy will be stunned for 5 seconds. Now you got all time in the world to shoot him as much as you wish, deal a little bit more damage, then back off a little bit, slow him down with Freezing Salvo, avoid few attacks, and then rinse and repeat. Pretty interesting and fun playstyle. That's all support gems I used in Act 1, so that's basically it, and that's the passive tree I used in first act. Again, you can find it on my analytics in my written guide, links in the comment, so just check out there. Now, important stuff how to not stuck with this build. After reaching Act 2 at level 16, you want to upgrade your bow, so try to look for recurved bows, and if you got some currency, just drop it on top. If you land on good mods, drop runes and improve quality. PS should be increased by around 20%, and it will be enough to go through wall this act right to the end. Electrocute build up still based on our lightning damage, so make sure to get as much lightning damage on your bow as possible, or physical, because you convert physical to lightning with your skill. That's the support gems I used by the end of this act. So, we're using Herald of Thunder straight from the Act 1, I forgot to mention, with elemental armament for more damage. I added rapid attacks for Stormcaller arrow, but actually concentrated area feels a little bit better for more damage. And Voltaic Mark with Mark of Siphoning and prolonged duration. It helps us to regain a little bit of mana, it will be nerfed in upcoming patch, so we will regain only from physical damage, but still it's okay, because Voltaic Mark will increase electrocution build up on enemies, and we will build up it a lot faster. At the same time, if you don't like any of the skills, like Freezing Salvo for example, you can use Barrage. Barrage will give you ability to shoot extra arrows, but right now we don't have ability to generate frenzied charges constantly, so I kinda ignored it most of the time. Probably looking at what's happening and got a question, how we scale damage, and that's because we got pretty broken nodes on our passive tree. One of them gives us 20% increased damage for every elemental ailment on enemy. We constantly electrocute and shock at the same time with the help of Mark of Siphoning and Electrocution Arrow. From Freezing Salvo we're building up Chill, and enemies will be constantly chilled. This means it's already plus 60% extra damage. If your bow got some fire enchantment, or your gloves or your rings, you also will be able to ignite the enemy for 80% increased damage. If you're going for this build, you can pick any ascendancy you like, honestly, but I will go for Dead Eye, mostly for Tailwind, because that's a nice quality of life buff with movement and attack speed and some resistance, and later we will be able to automatically apply marks. Funny part is that almost any node on Dead Eye tree will benefit our build, so you can pick whatever you like. Biggest power of the build lies in combination of our skills, support gems and passive tree. And on passive tree there is also a node that gives increased damage taken by electrocuted enemies, and that's what again lies on top of our already pretty stacked up damage. Does this build have any troubles? Yeah, we are squishy ranger, but if you pick strength-based armor pieces instead of evasion-based, you will be fine. Look, right now I'm in strength-based armors. Actually, it's strength evasion, so it gives you armor and evasion at the same time. Boom! I can survive this hit already, and I'm pretty underleveled for this zone, and it's not like best in slot super good armors, it's just basic magic stuff on me. And I can easily survive him and out DPS again pretty easily. I stick to this strategy until end of the campaign, and I was able to survive even hardest boss for me, the dude in Interlude Act 2. He was not able to one-shot me for some reason, while I'm being one-shotted almost when I'm playing any other pretty broken build. But let's talk about Act 3 first. So you will enter this act, and at this point you want to upgrade your bow to dual string bow that shoots 2 arrows. You will see improved enemy density over here. There will be so many enemies, at least in 0.4, that you want to shoot 2 arrows. Later we will fix this problem with Passive 3 and we will be able to get really OP bows. But now you want bow that shoots 2 arrows. Also you will start finding skill gems level 9. And that's kinda what gives you a choice. Do you want to actually play this build or just go complete meta? If you find yourself not really enjoying this stuff of build, you can keep completely the same passive tree. You can still use your electrocution arrow to electrocute targets with the extra lightning damage, but you can switch to ice shot. So you will freeze enemies and then snipe them. Again, maybe you don't want to use snipe. You can freeze enemies, then you can switch to electrocution arrow and stormcaller arrow, and basically rotate your 2 disables and stun lock enemies as much as possible. But then why don't you just use powerful strikes and destroy them with insanely powerful shock effects? End of this act may be kinda brutal, because you still will be with Act 3 bow, this dual string bow. And I don't recommend actually to upgrade it until start of Act 4. That's why it may feel like we kinda losing power right now, but in reality we are fine. Doriani felt pretty quickly, and you will see support gems that I used by the end of this act. The only thing new over here is Wind Dancer. Wind Dancer gives us some survival and also defeats smaller monsters around us, so you definitely want to use it. There's only one change I made towards interludes. So this is Act 3 support gems, and that's interludes. I added concentrated area to Stormcaller arrow for more damage. And that's basically how it felt. Yeah, we're talking a little bit slower, but still lightning rains from the skies, you know, electrocution building up. When enemy is stunned, we're dealing a lot of extra damage on top, and then boom, enemy starting to deplete. Yeah, that's basically how it works. Most important part was to find upgrade for my bow. And you want to look for upgrades starting from around level 45, because that's where we will already invest into a chance to fire additional arrows. That's a pretty cool one. Also towards interludes, and in interludes especially, we want to invest into elemental penetration, most importantly lightning penetration, because some bosses will have this icon, and even some enemies, and when this icon is golden lightning, it means enemies got lots of resistance, and if we won't have any penetration, we will deal low damage. But right now against this boss I already got high penetration, and his lightning resistance is 0 basically. You see how he depletes? Well, almost instantly. And that's how your damage will look like with a good bow, with really like okay-ish bow if you upgraded it at around level 45, and we're already in the end of interludes. Damage is pretty insane, we defeat him pretty fast, and again, that's basically one button, pretty funny build. But maybe you want some other builds, check videos on the skin right now, they're also cool.